Welcome to Checks and Balances. I'm Michael Vincent. This is James Blair. And this week, budgeting.
So Michael, I am very excited about this topic. I don't know how many other people are going to be excited about talking about budgets, but I think about budgets a little bit like the diet. And I go, if you go to the gym, you work out 2 times a day.
Yep.
You have chicken, broccoli and rice.
That's all I do.
6 times a day. How sustainable is that? You have to have a lot of commitment to the outcome that you are chasing over a long period of time. Because as we know, I've tried 3 days of chicken, broccoli and rice. Doesn't get you abs apparently, Mike.
No, apparently not.
No. So the diet is a lot like the budget.
Yeah.
Where with the budget, it needs to be sustainable. You need to be able to commit to it over a long period of time and small consistent steps over time. Once again, with the diet, can't really. This is what I'm told from people who are good at the dieting piece. But small consistent steps will get you in the right direction over time. But I hear, Mike, you've got a little story to share around little Michael and I guess how your dad taught you about budgeting at a young age.
Yeah. So when I must have been 7 or 8, something around that age, my dad, instead of giving us weekly pocket money, wanted to teach us about budgeting over a slightly longer term. So gave my sister and I, more pocket money and all of the pocket money at the start of the month with the expectation that would last you throughout the month. And I personally don't remember this, but my sister insists on reminding me that apparently I spent the whole lot in about 2 hours on lollies and then subsequently had to ask my parents for more.
Yeah. That message clearly got through, didn't it?
Yeah.
Chris tells me it wasn't 8, it was actually 18. But I think a really good example of how you can teach your kids about money as well. One of the main things we talk about with this podcast and this show is about consistent steps, being able to educate your kids so they can make better decisions in the future.
Yeah.
So when we think about a budget, the reason I must say over the last year, I've become more focused on the budget. Even as an advisor, sometimes I can get distracted by the sexy stuff.
Yeah.
So we think about when clients come and talk to me, and we had one, Mike, that's come and spoken to us recently.
Yeah.
They're like, well, we want to build this many investment properties. We found this Kiwi saver we're really passionate about. I'm going to start my own business. I want to contribute to an index fund.
Yeah.
And if the numbers don't stack up to be able to do these things, you got to bring it right back to basics.
Yeah.
And go, how do we manage your money efficiently? Because if you're managing your money well, then you've got more money to pay down debt, regularly contribute into savings, investings, and eventually build that passive income in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, case in point with these customers is that, like you sort of mentioned, they wanted to do all these exciting things, build these portfolios, do these sorts of things. But as you bring it back to the day-to-day and to the budget, to implement these strategies for them right now would have been far too risky because they just don't have things like the emergency account and some of the spending under control and the credit cards and that sort of thing. So by fixing that sort of stuff first, you can get to those sexy investment products and these sorts of things. And it may sort of take you 6 months, 8 months, 12 months, something like that to figure it out. But when we look at through a budget, but when you look at that over the long term, it's not that much time.
Yeah, this client that we're talking about, they were regularly contributing to a Cheques account at the moment. I think a couple $100 a month, but they're paying for 2 lots of childcare. Anyone that has kids knows how much those childcare costs can kill the budget. They've just got investment property. They've got their own mortgage. One of their incomes is a little bit up and down. So I actually told them to stop the Cheques account. Yeah. Somewhat controversial, but they had no emergency fund or anything like that. And it's just about going, okay, let's make sure we walk before we can run. And I find that clients who have a emergency fund got a little bit of swag in their step. They know that whatever happens to them, that they're going to be okay. Yeah. Because braces for kids, car repairs, new phones, laptops, hot water cylinders bursting. Yeah. They're not, if these things are going to happen, they're going to happen at some point.
Yeah, they are. And when we look at a budget, what we're really trying to talk about here is it's not about how much you earn, but about how much you save.
Yeah, and I've got some really good examples of that. I've been looking after clients for now 10 years, and both of us spent quite a bit of time at private bank at Westpac, and we spoke to people who were earning some serious cash. And I remember maybe 3-4 years ago talking to a lawyer who's earning $1 million a year, and I said to him, "You're never going to be able to retire. Like, this just doesn't work."
Yeah.
And it's because you've built this lifestyle around private school fees, this huge house, the batch, all of these things which once upon a time you didn't need.
Yeah.
And a lot of people aren't willing to let go of that lifestyle, right?
Yeah. So when we talk about letting go of that lifestyle, we talk about mastering the budget. So let's drill into it. What are some tips that people can implement and use to get that budget under control and figure out their finances?
Yeah. So the first tip I have is keeping it simple. So if you can't write your budget to me in terms of the strategy on the back of a napkin, back of an envelope, and go, "Here's how I manage my money," I think it's too complicated.
Yeah.
So you should be able to say, "I've got money that goes here, money goes here, and this is how much I spend each fortnight." The second piece there, Mike, is around it being sustainable.
Yeah.
So sustainable comes back to the chicken, broccoli, and rice.
Yeah.
And going, is it realistic to go? And I have clients who send me expenses, and I go, "I'm going to add $20,000 a year to this," because there's no way you're not going to go out for dinner every once in a while.
Yeah.
You're probably going to want to go on a holiday at some point. You're going to want to buy some clothes. You need to have some fun. So you need to budget in some fun and enjoying yourself, right?
Yeah, and I think with that sustainability piece, it's really important that if you do run over the budget, if you do blow it out a bit, like that diet, don't write off the whole month.
No.
Don't just write off that day and come back to it, because it's very easy to do that when you are thinking about this finance. Go, "Oh, look, this month's done. Been out a couple nights this week already. I'll stick to it next month." When actually you can get back on track straight away. And yep, you're not going to get exactly there, but you can make those small steps to just keep you on track.
So 2 Sal's pizzas and a tub of ice cream I should be doing, Mike. So keeping it sustainable is very important, being realistic. And sustainability links back in with, I believe I've spoken about this before, Mike, but the tug of war.
Yeah.
So the tug of war between current you and future you. So current you, we see a lot of people falling too much to current them. They're having too much fun at the moment. But on the flip side, there's no guarantees in life.
Yeah.
You might be saving or investing for this future that you might not necessarily ever get, which is a little bit dark. But the point is saying that you should enjoy yourself now and find a balance between, yes, investing in your future, and if early retirement or helping your kids or traveling or whatever it might be is important to you, that's great. But have a bit of fun.
Yeah, you've got to do it. And so I think the last piece on sort of the 3 tips that we usually give is the automated piece. Budget should be as automated as possible, and both James and I are pretty sort of ardent believers of this. You shouldn't be spending an hour a week figuring out your budget or where the money's going or what is happening. Automatic payments, separate bank accounts to make sure that everything's tracked correctly, bills coming out of one account. All of this can be set up and just forgotten about. And then it's just about monitoring that over time as opposed to individually transferring payments around and that sort of thing.
Well, we're simple guys, right? We need to have simple advice, otherwise we're not going to be able to follow it.
Yeah.
The main part there around keeping it automated is that a lot of our clients and a lot of the people we interact with, and probably most of the people listening, but everyone's pretty time poor, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's between a busy job, family, trying to keep up with friends. Maybe you're trying to have a bit of a social life and enjoying some sports or whatever it might be as well. Is that we don't have a lot of spare time, and unless you're a bit of a finance nerd, you're not going to want to spend that time in a spreadsheet. So if you've got your money getting split up into a certain direction, it means that you've got confidence that it's all sort of working itself out without having to focus on it every week.
Okay, so let's say that we've got it all automated, we've got it all set up, we've got some separate accounts for everything, let's call it 5 accounts. I'm a couple. Our net income is 100K per year. What does that look like from a realistic budgeting perspective?
Yeah, so we've got an example here, as you said, around that kind of 100K net income. So that might be, what, Mike, 2 people earning 70,000?
Yeah, but over, yep.
Yeah, somewhere around there. So I like to split up people's money into 5 different areas. So the first one is around the mortgage, the rent, and the fixed bills.
Yep.
So per year, that might be, say, $50,000 a year going towards the mortgage, and that's about $1,000 a week. So straight away, when we get paid, whether it's weekly or fortnightly, a certain amount gets split off into that mortgage account.
Yep.
So that's our first strategy. That example, $50,000 a year, $1,000 a month. The second piece is, which a lot of people sleep on, is the emergency fund. So if you really want, you can have it in a revolving credit or loan you can draw back on.
Yeah.
But when we're talking about maybe $10,000, $15,000, the difference isn't huge, and there's something very, I guess, psychologically very powerful of knowing that whatever comes my way, that I'm gonna be okay.
Yeah, I've got that money sitting in the bank.
Yeah. So I've got. We like to see our clients with emergency funds of 3 to 6 months, and in this example, we're contributing $5,000 a year or $100 a week into the emergency fund.
Cool.
Now, if you don't have an emergency fund, I would probably like to see a bigger amount being saved straight away, because essentially you're running against the clock of when something will go wrong.
Yeah.
But even when you get that emergency fund to 3 or 6 months worth of expenses, you also want to keep contributing. And why is that, Mike? Because something's going to go wrong at some point, and you want to make sure you're a little bit ahead of the curve.
Yep.
So what have we got as number 3 of the accounts, Mike?
So that's our day-to-day account. So this is, lunch, your day-to-day expenses, all these sorts of things. Once again, this is a regular contribution to this account. We're looking at about $25,000 in this account over 12 months.
Yeah. So 500 a week. I think that's right. I think that math stacks up. I'm not an advisor or anything, so it doesn't matter. But this is, I would say, the most dangerous of all of the accounts.
Yeah.
So if you think about the mortgage account, it's structured, you've got to pay the bank or you lose your home. The emergency fund, maybe that's not where people are playing at the moment. The day-to-day, when people go, and a phrase that is, I hear quite common, and if it's you shouldn't feel bad about it at all, is going, I get paid good money, I don't go out for lots of dinners or shopping or buy new clothes, but I don't know, don't have any spare money. The reason for that will be the day-to-day spending.
Yeah.
So, we like a little bit of sushi pack on High Street.
We do.
If you're spending $15 a day on that, our cameraman Toast is smiling at me. He likes a bit of sushi pack as well. But if you're doing things like sushi pack, or maybe you're going out to the supermarket, instead of one shop, you're doing 2, 3, 4, 5 a week. A couple of extra drinks. They all add up, right?
Yeah.
And we're not saying you can't do those things. Let's come back to the sustainability point. But you've got to make sure that you're being a conscious spender and keeping things in mind. In our workshops, Mike, we talk about being a conscious spender instead of a mindless spender. So you're not just tapping and forgetting about it.
Yep.
Number 4 there is short-term savings. So this comes back to the discretionary point as well. So we've got, in this example, $10,000 a year going towards the short-term savings. So that might be you saving up for a new car or a holiday or some money set aside for clothes. And I would definitely put this into a separate account. So you take the money out, that's what it's there for.
Yep.
What's the last one we've got, Mike?
Long-term savings. So saving for the good stuff. In this example, we've got $10,000 as well. This is something that you're building over time. You're saving up for larger items, I guess.
Yeah. So that might be you're saving for a deposit for an investment property. Maybe some of that's going towards additional mortgage repayments. Might be going to like a Sharesies or a crypto, whatever wets your whistle, tickles your fancy. So those 5 different accounts: the mortgage account, the emergency fund, day-to-day account, short-term savings, and long-term savings.
Yep.
The other thing I just say about all of this as well is, if you love a spreadsheet, I'm not telling you that you've got to automate your accounts. If you've got structure and it works out really well for you, that's completely fine.
Yeah.
Just before we wrap up, if you're going, well, where do I start? If I want to get on top of my budget, how do I do it? The thing I like the most is an online tool called Pocketsmith.
Yeah, really good.
So you can feed in your your online banking transactions. You can categorize them. You can set up a budget. Costs $10 a month. But even if you've got it for 6 months or a year until you've got that consistency, that's a really good tool that you can check out. In addition to that, you can think about things like Sorted.org has like a free tool. Booster's got a budget pal.
Yeah.
As I said, some people like spreadsheets.
Cool.
Great. Okay. So should we wrap it up there, Mike?
Let's do it.
Yeah. So from this, I hope you take away some tips around how to manage your money. If you've got any ideas about topics that we'd like us to talk about, we've got a great topic that we're going to talk about in a few weeks from Jenny, who messaged something through, which we're looking forward to. Please send them through. Otherwise, we'll see you next week.
Cheers.